Hey, what's up? Hope everyone's doing all right. So we are on week 12, Judges 9 through Samuel 3. So I just finished reading this. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm trying to think kind of what. So you have the judges, right? And so the main thing that kind of stands out is, you had Gideon last time and last week, but you also have Samson, and then so you have like judges, right? But they're not kings. And so you have like this different type of interaction where they're not kings, but they're still in charge. So like, what's the difference between a judge and a king? Um, I guess a judge is more like not like expanding, right? It's just a judge is like more defensive, and then a king is more expansive, offensive. So you had judges, but they just they judge the people, but they weren't like expand. They didn't like try to go and make war with other people. They're literally judges, right? And then you have kings, which you have like David and stuff that comes later, and they're like more like conquerors. And so you have these different type of people, and this different type of interaction that you have. And so the we're going through the Bible, right? And then so Monday through Friday we have a main theme on each day. And so the main theme on Monday is Jephthah. And Jephthah, probably saying his name wrong, but um, he was, I think, he was like he wasn't very honorable in his family, and so they kind of dishonored him or like, cut him out. And then they came to him later and like, hey, help us into this battle, and if you make us win this battle, um, then you can rule over us. And he's like, okay, well then. So he won the battle. He won the battle. And he ruled over him. And then when he said he would, he told God, he swore to God that he would sacrifice Portia came to his house. Ended up being his daughter, and so he sacrificed his daughter. And to what degree this means, like, how did he sacrifice it? Did he literally like burn her? Um, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I guess there's a reason why it's not detailed. It's not detailed because it's not really important. It just what's the lesson to be learned from the situation. At the times you have to follow through what you swear to the Lord. So don't swear to the Lord something you can't follow through. And also for now, it's the lesson is like we don't have to swear to the Lord anymore. And so this is something that's been um, alleviated from us. It's not like it's been a burden that has been taken away. And we have a lot of burdens as Christians now, and there's a lot of difficulties we have to do. But swearing and having to follow through with your swears anymore, something that we don't have to do. And you can see kind of the negative effects of that, or it seems to be like the negative effects of that kind of behavior. Um, and so we see that with Jephthah. And so Tuesday is Samson. Now Samson is a very interesting person. There's just a lot going on. Like he just killed so many people, and he was super strong with the Lord. And he was taken from the womb. So there's just so much to unpack with Samson and his life and the choices that he made. A lot of it. One major thing is like, okay, so if he was chosen, like, where does his free will come from, or what is his free will? God chose him. Just because God chooses him doesn't mean he's gonna go to heaven, though, right? He's still judged. So although God chose him, doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be good. And maybe God's chosen other people too to do certain rules. That's what prophets are chosen. Seems like prophets are chosen, but not all prophets go to heaven. Not all prophets are good. There's prophets of Belial. So though Samson was chosen, doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't have free will. He didn't have a choice to do good or bad. There's a lot of people that are chosen by God, and they still have the choice to either be a good prophet or a bad prophet. And then also Samson, you have, his wife, and like it seemed to be like he like made this wager to try to get this money, and he had like a riddle that he gave to his wife's people. And so this is just a lot to unpack. And so, is the wager that he made, was that the right thing to do? I'd say probably not the right thing to do. because he lost, but then God still got him out of the situation that he was in. And he gave him the might to kill 25 men. So, what he did was appeared to be wrong. God still bailed him out because God loved him. He was chosen by God, so God was still with him. And he has these different things he has to overcome. He's got all these different temptations. And so God bailed him out. What he did was wrong, though. And then God bailed him out. But then he also didn't get his wife. And then Samson, like, they took his wife away and, like, gave him to his companions. And Samson was mad about this. So he got the foxes and burned down all the corn. And then they burned the wife and her dad. And so there's just a lot of evil that was going on at that. The whole entire situation is evil. Vengeance belongs to God alone, not to man. And if you do vengeance, then you end up hurting yourself and those that you love. That's a lesson can be learned. And you see it coming out, but still God still has Samson's back. Then, of course, Samson has Delilah. And she's a... I'm not sure if Delilah... I'm going to look this up. He did sleep with a prostitute. But I'm not sure if Delilah was a prostitute. I want to see. That. Okay. Yeah, Samson stood at midnight. No, there were things came unto her. Okay. Then when Samson got and saw there a harlot and went unto her. And they saying, Samson has come thither, and they come past and laid away from all night in that city. There was the gate and the post. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorah, whose name was Delilah. And the Lord of the Philistines came upon her, and said unto her, entice him, and see wherein. So it's weird because he said he went to a prostitute. Okay, so he said he went to a prostitute, but Delilah wasn't a prostitute; she was a woman. And so it's just kind of, I guess, the reason he said that he went to a prostitute is just kind of just showing like his character at that time, his disposition of not having a wife and going after a woman. And then, but Delilah doesn't say she's a prostitute. She could have been married. She could have had a different man. She could have been single. The fact that she says she's not a prostitute, though, and she's sleeping with him, and that's, pretty much every girl who's not a prostitute has a man. Pretty much. At least at that time, it seemed to be. They were married. I mean, they were married when they were super young. And so she probably had a husband. He could have been, there's a lot that could have been situations, but he wasn't a prostitute. Delilah wasn't a prostitute. But she still, told him what she was doing, and he still kept going back. What's the lesson? I don't know, everyone gives in to sin, but not everyone gives up. God wasn't mad at her for giving in to sin, but his continuation of being with her was him just, giving up, or maybe he, gave up. Because they weren't married. Wasn't his wife. What do you think? I think that everyone gives in to sin, not everyone gives up. If there's a girl in your life that you really love, and you end up being with her, it doesn't mean that you have to keep being with her. You have to fight against it and not do it. You give in, but you don't give up. When you give up, then you end up being horrible. Horrible things happen. But then also, even if horrible things happen, God's not going to forsake you. He's still going to be with you. Temptation is real. He's not going to abandon you forever. God will never abandon you. He'll allow evil to come about, and he'll test you, but he's not going to abandon you. And you can see this with Samson. Then, of course, they take out his eyes. And after they take out his eyes, he kills all of them. And It's like you have, like, morality is reality. So you have people that do well, and then they have God's favor, and then when they're in power, what do? How do they use their power? If they use their power well, they stay in God's favor. But if they use their power to seek vengeance and to do evil, then they lose their power. And if people go back and forth, and he just destroys everyone. What do you do? Give this and I don't give up, keep fighting. Listen to my dreams, I do the best I can do. Ask for God's mercy and keep going forth. Alrighty. Alright, and then I have, what do I have after Samson? Benjamin fought against the tribes of Israel, and so that is just so much to unpack there too. Like, guy goes to the tribe, goes to his wife, or his concubine, runs off and plays the harlot. He goes and finds her, tries to bring her back into her homeland, stops by another tribe, and then stops somewhere, and then they go into a house, and then the people of the city compass the house, and they want to have sex with the guy that's in there, and they say no, and they bring out the girl, and they rape her until she dies in the morning. Then after they rape her until she dies in the morning, the guy takes his concubine, cuts her up in 12 different pieces, and sends them to the 12 different tribes of Israel. Then after he sends them to 12 different tribes of Israel, they all come against the land where they fought, or they did this too. And they fought against him, and they lose, and then they win, and then they killed all of them. After they killed all of them but a few of them, and they're like, okay, there's no wives for them. And so they do this thing where they bring them to a different town, and the girls that they catch at the feast, and they become their wives. And so there's just so much to unpack there. What's the main thing? The main thing is a thing that's repeated over and over again. There was no king, and then every man did what is right in his own eyes. And so you can just see that no one was right. There was no law. There was judges, but there wasn't there was a law and there was judges, but there was no universal understanding between right and wrong. And what was right and wrong with men might not have been established yet. These things had to take place for the establishment of what was right between men to take place. And then after the law and an establishment of what the law is and what's right to do in these situations, then a king arose. Didn't have to be a king, it could be a judge, and it could have been just defensive instead of offensive, but instead a king rose, and so it was still not. It thought to have been established, but it wasn't completely established. Because offensive isn't the way, defensive is the way. And so now you have this rule between man, an understanding of the rules. And then you have this with the king. And then now you have an understanding. And then you have the prophets that speak to everybody, because there's a universal understanding that you all should know. And once this understanding was established, then you have Christ. And that changes it all. There's so much to unfold and so much to know why these things happen. But yeah, that was a lot, man. And then there's Ruth. Ruth is a lot too. She is like a model of how, a model of virtue and how a woman can be. And Boaz is also really good character, how honor can be in a relationship of courting. All these things could be done. And then so Boaz with Ruth's husband, and he was the dad of Obed, and Obed was the dad of Jesse, and Jesse was the dad of David. So with Ruth and Boaz together, they create a lineage that is able to foster a king. It's pretty cool. And then Friday I have Samuel. And so Samuel just started getting what we know about Samuel. I think the next chapters are actually Samuel's chapters, right? Yeah, Samuel 1 and 2, his books, the books about him or his reign. And then you have David. and Solomon and Samuel's reign. I like David. He is obviously one of my favorites. He's pretty much everyone's favorite. I like David. I like Elijah. I like Jeremiah. Obviously, like Christ. Are the ones that I like a lot. Matthew, I like. John, I like. I like all of them, but some just kind of hit more feels than others. But I'm tired. I'm always tired. One day I'm gonna try to make better videos, more appealing videos. I have my computer and everything set up, but I'm just so busy right now. I don't know what to do. But at any rate, hope everyone's doing okay. I know I ramble a lot, but a lot of this is just kind of me learning and just understanding these things and letting the Holy Spirit talk to me and through me. Hope everyone's doing okay. God bless and happy truth seeking.